I have been in tears for the last 2 years trying to meet my daughter, and she has never let me once talk to her or see her.
When I talked to him and told him I was pregnant.
I have had to create a fake Facebook account just to see pictures of Elena.
Be clear, you did not just cheat him, you cheated her. The biological father is Mr. Winfield.
I knew it, I told you. I knew it wasn't his baby boy.
Bad parenting comes in all forms and faces. One common trait among them, they consistently make selfish choices, often at their kids' expense. Case in point, Miss Funzie. Like many who land in paternity court, Miss Funzie is desperately trying to prove that her boyfriend Irvin is the father of her son. Irvin, however, has threatened to walk out if the child isn't his. Miss Funzie insists that Irvin's doubts are due to his meddling sister, who has been stirring the pot and amplifying his suspicions.
You are here to prove your 1-month-old baby, Joakim Irvin, is your boyfriend, Mr. Irvin's biological son. You say you and Mr. Irvin have 2 other children, and you plan to have this 3rd child. You blame his sister for stirring up his ridiculous doubts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
At first, Miss Funzie's story might pull at your heartstrings, but before you pick sides, let's hear the full story. Irvin's doubts didn't appear out of thin air. According to him, Miss Funzie admitted to having an affair just weeks before discovering she was pregnant. Suddenly, his skepticism doesn't seem so unreasonable, does it? I mean, Simon, if your girl confessed to cheating just before you found out she was pregnant, you probably have doubts too. As soon as Judge Lauren asked the couple to lay out their case, Miss Funzie took the floor. She revealed that she and Irvin had been dating since the 10th grade, and it broke her heart to hear her high school sweetheart deny their child after having 3 children together before this one. But just then, Irvin cut straight to the point and revealed why he doesn't believe her.
She did that. She did that to herself.
You say she did it to herself?
She cheated.
How did you find out she cheated?
Well, one day I couldn't sleep, so here it is, 4 in the morning. I seen her sleeping and her phone was right beside her. Some told me to just go through her phone. So I found out that she spent the night at her friend's house with this other guy.
The only reason Irvin found out she was lying was that he went through her phone and discovered she had been getting down and dirty at her friend's house. Miss Funzie, however, claimed she would have told him anyway when the time was right. I don't know about you, but that sounds highly unlikely. When is the time ever right to tell someone you cheated on them?
I came to him to let him know that I cheated on him.
She always going out with her friends. He could never
He go out with his friends too also. Yes, he do.
No, he don't.
Yes, he do.
Hold on.
No, she did.
Hold on.
Here's where things get even more interesting. Out of curiosity, Judge Lauren asked Miss Funzie how and why she cheated, and she says the most shocking thing. According to her, she cheated on order to get licked back, because she wanted to get licked back because Irvin also cheated on her in the past.
I cheated the night of my friend's dinner because I had wanted to get revenge for him cheating on me. And then once I talked to the guy and I hooked up with him the night of my friend's.
She also tried to justify it by saying that it was a one-time thing and that she had used protection. So by her logic, the child was definitely Irvin's. Anyways, despite his doubts, Irvin was there for her throughout the entire pregnancy. He even signed the birth certificate, which in hindsight wasn't a smart choice given his suspicions. To further back her claims, Miss Funzie submits some pictures to show the court that the child has knocked knees just Luke Jordan and their other kids. After hearing this, Judge Lauren called in a doctor to clarify if knocked knees are hereditary.
In your expert opinion, do you believe this minor child carries that trait?
I would say, my expert opinion, it would be very difficult to determine this at this age.
Okay.
Knowing that the variants happen in children less than 6 years old.
Despite the doctor's opinion, Miss Funzie continues to hold on to her claim, and with that, Judge Lauren pulls one more card that no one saw coming. Turns out the court had tracked the guy she cheated on Irvin with to get his side of the story, and surprisingly, his side of the story was a little different from Miss Funzie's side. Scratch that. It's way different, because it turns out they didn't just hook up once. They did it about 4 times.
In this courtroom, we get to the truth. So this courtroom has tracked down this other man. He has submitted a statement to the court. It says, we eventually got each other's phone numbers and started texting. She told me about the things that was going on between her and Jordan. The first time me and her had sex, she came over and saw me. We had sex in Jordan's car. We kept sleeping with each other 3 to 4 times after that with no condom.
Now that the cat is out of the bag, Miss Funzie finally comes clean.
Was it just a one-night stand?
No.
Or did you have sex with this other man more than one time?
Yes or no?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, it was more than one time, or it was a one-night stand?
It was more than one time.
In the end, the moment of truth finally arrives as Judge Lauren calls for the DNA test.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Winfield.
For this next case, we've got something you've probably never seen in paternity court before. Jasmine, a self-proclaimed daddy's girl, is in court because her entire world was turned upside down 6 months ago. In the middle of a heated argument, her dad dropped a bombshell he wasn't her biological father.
You claim for the first 33 years of your life, you were a daddy's girl, from early childhood all the way through your dad walking you down the aisle. But just 6 months ago, after an argument, your father dropped a bomb on you and said, "You are not my daughter."
Let's get one thing straight: whether or not he's her biological father, she's called him dad for 33 years. To drop such a life-altering revelation out of spite? That's beyond cruel. It's one of the most devastating things anyone can say to someone they've raised and loved as their own. According to Jasmine, she poured her heart out in a letter to her dad right before Christmas, expressing her hurt because he wasn't involved in her life or her children's lives. Her dad remained quiet for a while, but after 3 agonizing days, he dropped a bombshell. The only reason he'd been distant is because he believes she's not his daughter. He even gave her a list of 2 other guys that could be her father.
I wrote my dad a letter right before Christmas, a couple weeks before Christmas, just telling him how I felt about him not being in his grandchildren's lives and how he's not being the father that we need since we lost our mother at a young age. And that was his response.
From the looks of things, the news was as devastating as it can be to Jasmine. She couldn't, and for very good reasons. Knowing one man is your dad all your life and suddenly finding out he might not be your father must have been devastating. From her dad, Mr. Esau's POV, he couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth all these years, even though he has always known that she was not his daughter. Mr. Esau also took the court back to when her met Jasmine's mother. Their story began in high school, where they met, got intimate, and swiftly began dating. A few weeks later, she was pregnant, but the shock didn't end there. When they went to the hospital, they discovered she was pregnant before they even met. Despite this revelation, he made the incredible decision to embrace the child as his own. Their journey didn't end there. They went on to marry and welcomed another child into their family.
Basically, she told me she was pregnant, and I'm like, okay. You're 18, you're like, okay, like, wow. You don't really know how to really react, but I was like, okay, wow, she's pregnant. And it wasn't until the doctor told her how far along she was, and doing the math, it was, before me.
Now, at some point, Mr. Esau did tell Jasmine, a brother, that she wasn't her daughter, but he took it back and said he said that because he was drunk. With all the information on ground, Judge Judy finally decides that it's time to pull the result.
Mr. Esau,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are not the father.
Next up in the parade of parents who prioritize their own drama over their kids' well-being, we've got the case of Webb versus the Forests. Meet Mr. Travis Webb, a man who has spent 2 long years tangled in a web of uncertainty. According to him, while he was hospitalized and fighting for his life, Mrs. Amanda Forrest practically left him for dead. Imagine his surprise when he woke up from his coma to find out she was pregnant, and her now 2-year-old daughter might be his. Meanwhile, on the other side of the courtroom, Mrs. Amanda Forrest and her husband, Mr. James Forrest, are adamant that the child is 100% Mr. Forrest's biological daughter.
Mr. Webb, what are your intentions today if the DNA determines that you are the biological father?
My intentions are to fight for full custody rights if she is my daughter.
Well, that's my daughter, and you ain't getting her.
Now, this is one hell of a love triangle. According to Amanda, it all began when her husband, James, got into some trouble. She met Travis through a mutual friend, and they hit it off right away. Things got steamy without protection, mind you, when she left her husband. Amanda might try to downplay the drama, but trust us, it's juicier than it sounds. Travis insists they were madly in love. But fate threw a wrench in their romance when he ended up on life support. When he finally woke up, his aunt dropped the bombshell Amanda had a baby that might be his. As if that wasn't enough, Amanda herself called him to deliver the news. Amanda, however, denies making that call.
As soon as I got out the hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. I heard it from my aunt first, but on my way to Illinois with my dad, she had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
To make things even messier, Travis claims Amanda was seeing other people besides him and her husband, as she frequently stayed out late for no apparent reason. Travis was utterly shocked to wake up and find out Amanda had reconciled with her ex-husband James. Before his hospital stint, everything seemed fine between them. But just a few days after he slipped into a coma, Amanda allegedly dropped by the hospital to leave his things and disappear from his life. Amanda, again, denies all of this.
I have a letter from my mom where I was on life support when she came to drop off my stuff.
Which we were already broken up by
then.
then.
A motel with Mr. Forrest.
This is evidence you'd like me to see?
This is a
Jerome, will you
mom's
hand that
statement.
to me?
Amanda also claims that the baby's birth date only points to the period when she was exclusively with her husband. After doing the math, Judge Lauren realizes that Amanda might actually be trying to pull a fast one on the court.
You messaged him
I messaged his
on
mother.
Facebook, his family, to let them know, but why do that if you know for certain that Mr. Forrest, your husband, is the child's father?
Despite admitting that there's a chance Travis might be the father, Amanda and her husband have done everything in their power to keep the child from Travis.
No, I have
So
never
therefore,
said that, Your Honor.
he ain't there for
I
2
have
years.
been in tears for the last 2 years trying to meet my daughter, and she has never let me once
When I
talk to
called-
her or see her.
When I talked to
have
him and
had
told him
to
I was
create
pregnant.
a fake Facebook account just to see pictures of Elena.
After hearing all sides of the story, Judge Lauren finally decides that it's time to see the results, and if you had guessed Mr. Webb, then you're absolutely correct.
It has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Webb.
But even with the results at hand, Amanda only continues to make statements that not only prove that she's a selfish person, but also that she's a selfish mother. At some point, even Judge Lauren had to put her in her place.
Be clear, you did not just cheat him, you cheated her.
Cheated her. I think you need to step outside of yourself and your own selfishness